Hey guys, happy Monday. All right, let's get right into it. I know that 2018 is right around the corner, and most always health and eating habits and exercise are usually at the top of the New Year's resolution lists, right? We all want to be healthier, we all want to exercise more, and but sometimes it's hard to know where to start, or you've been wanting to maybe do some type of a diet, or I don't like to call them diets, but you want to change the way that you're eating, but you don't really know where to start, or you feel like it's overwhelming and hard. So and I've been hearing that a lot lately. People are wanting to back off on the amount of dairy they're consuming, the amount of meat that they're consuming, but they're just not sure how. And if you keep up with me on Instagram, you know that in my stories I will often share how I cook. I don't like to say we're vegan. I like to say we try to be vegan, okay? My kids eat meat, my husband and I do not, but we're not true vegans to the extent that many people are, people who become vegan for animal rights reasons. Those people do not consume any animal byproducts. They don't wear leather. So I would never put myself in that category, because mad props to those people who are so devout in their love for animals that they don't want to consume any animal products or byproducts. We went off of meat for different reasons, and I can share a little bit of that with you, because I think for anybody who's trying to back off on meat right now, or dairy, sometimes you're kind of like, well, I want to, but I don't know how my family's going to handle this, or I want to, but I don't know how my husband's gonna handle this. So I'll share with you our journey of kind of how we started and why we started and how that's gone really quickly. So basically for us, we had heard several people that we knew say that they had slowly started to go off meat and dairy. We kind of knew that they're not the best foods for you, and we were just curious about that. So a few years ago, we watched a couple of fabulous documentaries. One of them was called Forks Over Knives, and the other one was called, what was it called? It'll come to me, okay? But it was basically a documentary about a man who was overweight. He was on tons of different medications, and he did this like 30 or 60 day juice fast or something like that. For like 60 days, all he drank was juice, and he ended up coming off of all of his medications and losing all this weight. But the documentary was really talking about the power of nutrients that come from plant foods. So after watching a couple documentaries like that, my husband and I decided that we would give it a go as well. They're very informative. They talk about the damage that casein from meat and dairy can do to your body. So, we looked into that and felt like we would give it a shot. And we always approached it with this idea that it's not going to be something we restrict ourselves to. So we never said, okay, there's absolutely no meat, or there's absolutely no dairy. We give ourselves permission to consume it if we choose to. And we've never really put a ton of pressure on ourselves. But by reducing the amount of meat that we consume, it forced us to get really creative with how we were cooking our meat and dairy substitutes. And I think those were kind of the key things that really helped us be able to move into a meat-free lifestyle. And like I said, actually we haven't eaten meat in 3 years, but actually maybe my husband had a little taste of turkey last year. I can't remember, but I know that he wasn't a fan. We will have fish every now and then. And like I said, we're not super strict on it, but for us, it has been a great kind of transition out of having meat almost every day to having none. But there's a few key ingredients that have really helped us do this. So, and I will say that it's not soy. So a lot of people assume that when you're vegetarian or when you're vegan that you're consuming a lot of soy products. And maybe that may be the case for many people. We in our home do not consume any soy unless it's a fermented form of soy. So, or like soy bean, like edamame we'll have every now and then. If we're having sushi, we'll have edamame. We will have things like miso and tempeh and fermented soy, but we don't actually eat any soy. So we don't use soy as a meat substitute in our home. Okay, so I'm going to share with you I said it was going to be the top 3 ingredients, but I'm actually going to share one or two more things as well that will help you start to kind of transition away from meat and dairy. And I would just encourage you to experiment with these things in your weekly menu. Okay, so the first thing, and this is really more for the dairy lovers out there, that is a must-have in our home is cashews. Okay, so I buy a very large amount of organic cashews, probably once every couple of weeks. I'm easily spending $70 to $80 on cashews. So this is essentially replacing a ton of things for us. So cashews have that, once they're blended, they have that creamy, milky kind of richness to them. So when you're replacing anything in your diet that is like sauces full of dairy or cheese or creamy desserts or creamer for your coffee, cashews have been a fabulous way for us to replace those things and not really feel like we're missing dairy. So, you know, now when I'm making a pasta sauce, like an Alfredo sauce, I'll be making it with cauliflower and cashews and pureeing that up to look like an Alfredo sauce as opposed to using like a dairy or a cream sauce. You can also use cashews, like I said, to make like a coffee creamer. So there's tons of recipes on the internet that you can go search to look for cashew coffee creamer. You know, a really simple way to remember how to make cashew coffee cream is it's typically like a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you do a half a cup of cashews, you do a half cup of water, and to that you can add, you know, a little bit of like vanilla bean and a little bit of maple syrup if you want to sweeten it up, a pinch of salt to give it that balance, and then you puree that up in a good blender, and you're going to have a cashew cream that's going to last you a few days that you can use in your coffee or your tea, right? So cashews have basically been invaluable for us. I use these all the time. They are also great for making sauces, you guys. Like if you are trying to replace like a creamy dairy dressing, cashews are a great way to do that. But obviously the ingredients that you're going to use to blend them up are going to be different. You're not going to do sweet stuff. You're not going to add maple syrup. You're going to be adding salt. So cashews are a fabulous replacement and a great way to try to cut off the dairy. Another thing is cashew milk. You know, you can buy cashew milk now in cartons at the store. It's super easy to make your own at home. In fact, a lot of people make their own almond milk, but cashew milk is way easier because with almond milk, you have to strain it, right? Because of the skin on the almonds. So cashews don't have that. So I always recommend you soak your cashews whenever possible ahead of time. It just makes them easier to puree. Soak them up, and then as opposed to the cream where you want it thick, when you're wanting to make a cashew milk, you're going to want a higher cashew to water ratio. So typically it's going to end up being 1-to-3 or 1-to-4 depending on how liquidy you like your milk. So I make cashew milk at home. I will sometimes add that little bit of vanilla bean or a touch of salt as well because, you know, the store-bought cashew milks have that flavor to them, so you can do that as well. But it'll be like 1 cup of cashews to 3 to 4 cups of water pureed in a blender. You can put that in a jug, and that's going to last you, you know, for days depending on how much milk you drink. It's a great thing to add to your oatmeal, to your cereal. If your kids eat cereal and you're trying to get them off dairy, cashews are a fabulous ingredient for all sorts of those things. Okay, so ingredient number 1 that you must have on your grocery list, cashews. Ingredient number 2, and again, if you watch my Instagram stories, you'll know I use this product a lot. This is called nutritional yeast. Okay, keep in mind it's called nutritional yeast, not regular yeast. They're two very different things. So when you're going grocery shopping, if you haven't heard of this before, it needs to be nutritional yeast. It's yellow and it kind of looks like this. It's like these flakes. Nutritional yeast, it's high in vitamin B, it's rich in protein, it's got a mild, nutty, cheesy flavor, okay? So this is a fabulous replacement for cheese and for, when you're sprinkling cheese, like you're making a salad, instead of using Parmesan cheese, you can add this stuff to it. You can add this into your cooking. You can use it cold. You can use it hot. You can blend this in with your cashews. I make a cashew cream sauce. Just yesterday, if you watched my Instagram stories, I made a Buddha bowl. So with our Buddha bowls, we'll do like a roasted cauliflowers with chickpeas and quinoa, and then I make this cashew cream sauce. So I'll do like, a half a cup of cashews with a half to 1 cup of water with a healthy serving of nutritional yeast, some salt, some garlic, and I blend that up with some lemon juice, and it makes a delicious, like creamy, savory sauce that you can add to your Buddha bowls. You can also use it as, like I said before, a Caesar salad replacement. So I use this stuff all the time. Last night for dinner, I made a decadent risotto. I added this instead of the Parmigiano Reggiano, right? A lot of people use the Parmesan fresh grated into their risotto, which is amazing. It tastes amazing, but if you want to skip the dairy and cut out a ton of calories, replace it with the nutritional yeast. So like I said, we use this a lot. You can sprinkle this onto your pizza. You can make, like, if you like the cheesy flavor, but you don't want cheese on your pizza, you can make a no cheese pizza and then sprinkle this on top. So I have really found nutritional yeast to not only be a great flavor substitute for cheese and savory sauces, like the Alfredo I mentioned earlier. You want to make an Alfredo pasta sauce with some cauliflower and cashews blended up, add some of this to it. It'll make a nice kind of cheesy tasting sauce. Hi, Case. How are you? Thanks for tuning in today. So, and then not to mention the flavor, but it also, like I said, is rich in B vitamins and protein. So it's a great supplement for anybody who's trying to cut dairy out of their diet, okay? And then my third, I mentioned earlier that we don't replace our meat with tofu. So there's a couple of things that I have found that are good replacements for the texture of meat, right? So if you want to make a burger, or you want to make like a pulled pork sandwich, or you want to make butter chicken, right? Like if you're Indian and you want to like cook like some sort of curry dish, but you don't want to use tofu. The other thing I found, first of all, I'll say mushrooms are a fabulous meat replacement. So you can get portobello mushrooms, you can get like regular button, like there's all sorts of different kinds of mushrooms, right? Mushrooms have that earthy, meaty flavor, and then they also have that texture. So mushrooms make a great replacement. I make these fajita steak kind of fajitas, but it's not steak, it's portobello mushrooms, which are sliced thinly and sauteed in some chili pepper or chili spices and seasonings, and it makes a great replacement for putting steak in your fajita. You put the sliced portobello mushrooms, which are big, so they actually look like steak. So I have found mushrooms to be a great substitute, but in addition to that, I've actually found this. This is called, so I will put a caveat in here that I'm not a fan of like canned food, okay? We have canned food, we use canned food. Whenever possible, I avoid it. So I don't buy like canned tomatoes or canned beans. Like I always like to cook my own from like dry beans. Like I'll boil them and make them myself. But there are just some things that sometimes you have to make an exception, and this is one of those things. So this is what it is. It's called jackfruit. Jackfruit is a huge fruit that if it's in season, first of all, it doesn't grow here. You'd have to get it from like the other side of the world, but it will get imported into the grocery stores every now and then when it's in season there. I have never really looked for it because I found this, but I know that in the past when I have had jackfruit before, I know that it's really hard to cut into and to kind of get it, ready to eat. Like I already hate slicing and peeling vegetables, so that was just like way too much of a mess for me. But this stuff, so it's canned jackfruit. You want to make sure that it's in brine, canned in brine, not in syrup. It comes in two different ways, syrup and brine. So you don't want it in syrup because syrup will make it sweet. So it's just canned in this brine, like a salt water, and it has the texture. So it looks like this when you take it out. It actually looks like this, like pineapple, But once you start to like get at it with like a potato masher or a fork or something, it shreds up into the consistency of like, it's got like a meaty consistency to it. So if you can think of like a pulled pork or like a tuna, okay? So that's what it looks like. So you take this stuff out of the can, you drain it, you drain the water out of it, and then you take these little like pineapple kind of looking pieces, and you like, I'll take like a potato masher or a fork and just mash it up, and it will easily break into these little pieces. Now you can do anything with that. So this stuff is amazing. Like I said, like I make pulled pork sandwiches with this stuff. You know, you can whip up some barbecue sauce and some onions, stir it all together, simmer this on the stove, and just like that alone, it's super easy to do and it's super fast and super delicious. But I like to give it that extra little like meatiness, especially if I know we're having somebody over for dinner who's like a diehard meat lover. Like I won't even tell them that this isn't meat. I'll just make it and tell them I made pulled pork sandwiches, and then I'll tell them after, and people are usually shocked. So what you do is you cook it up on the stove, and then you put it in the oven and you just bake it until it gets a little bit more of that like tough meaty texture. And it's amazing, guys. Like this has been a super fabulous meat substitute. Again, you want to make something like a butter chicken. If you're Indian, you want to cook Indian food, you want to make like a curried meat, but you don't want to use meat, you can use this as a substitute. Again, just break it up, put whatever spices and seasonings you want with it. It'll take on the flavor of whatever you put with it, and it'll just give it that meaty, hearty texture for people who need that texture. That's a lot of times why people will say that, you know, they don't want to switch over to not eating meat because they feel like they're going to miss the heartiness of it. Fish tacos are another great thing that, you know, I've made this instead of using fish. I'll use this with some like taco seasonings and spices, but then I use this instead of actual fish, okay? So I would say these are like the 3 must-have things that you should include on your grocery list. This is available anywhere. If you're in Canada, Superstore carries this stuff. You know, you can ask for it by name. They'll be able to help you. Canned jackfruit in brine. Oftentimes it's available in the ethnic section of like big box grocery stores. So yeah, just look for it there. So those are kind of my 3 must-haves. Now I do have one more thing that I just wanted to share with you. If you are trying to transition to like less meat in your life, okay? So it's one thing, but it comes in different ways. But it is stock, okay? If you watch me on my Instagram stories, you know that I use stock all the time to cook. So this is one way it comes. Mushrooms, like I mentioned before, have that earthy, kind of hearty, meaty flavor. So I use a lot of mushroom stock in our house. You know, if like there's like a recipe for like a beef stew or something like that, that needs that like hearty, kind of meaty flavor to it. You're going to want to use something that's like earthier and got more flavor, and that would be like a mushroom stock, and which you can buy again anywhere, right? You can buy them in these cartons. I also like them like this. We have a ton, like I buy these in bulk, okay? These are Harvest Sun. Oh, I think my nail polish just chipped off and flew over there. I need to do my nails. This is Harvest Sun organic cubes. They come in all sorts of, you can get mushroom, vegetable, chicken. Like if you're just trying to back off on the meat, you don't have to go cold, you know, cold turkey, not having any meat at all. You can just do 1 day a week and use like a meat stock instead of actually eating meat. But they're little cubes that come like this, okay? I love these because, they're dry packed, and when you open it up, it's just a little cube. It takes a little bit more work, right? It's a little bit more work than having a carton, because one of these cubes needs to be mixed in with a couple of cups of boiling water. So if you watched my stories last night, I made risotto. I used stock to make the risotto in a slow cooker. I made the stock first using one of these cubes. So I made the stock on the stove. It took me like not even 10 minutes, right? And then I added that to the risotto to give it that kind of flavor that oftentimes comes from meat. So again, they come in all sorts of different vegetarian, mushroom, onion, like you name it, you can get it. So that's it, guys. So if you are looking to cut back on the dairy and meat in 2018, I hope these tips have been helpful for you. Nobody says that you have to go completely, you know, like I said, cold turkey and go all in, but decreasing the amount of meat and dairy you're consuming and then replacing that with vegetables and healthy, real food. I mean, there's nothing better than that, you know, give your family that gift of giving them real whole food, and hopefully you can use some of these ingredients that'll help you do that. Okay, so message me, private message me if you guys have any questions, or you need any more information. For those of you who follow me regularly, you know that I am most likely going to be doing my functional nutrition certification in 2018. It's a year-long program, and it's got quite a hefty price tag on it. So I haven't quite pulled the cord yet and committed. I want to make sure I can fully commit to it, but nutrition and health is something I'm super passionate about, and I just wanted to learn more about this and how eating affects our body. It's really just I'm doing it for my own knowledge, but if I do get my certification and take the course, of course, I will always be sharing the little nuggets that I'm learning. So stick with me. Thanks for tuning in for the third day of Christmas, and we will see you guys tomorrow. I actually have it written down what we're talking about tomorrow, but I can't remember right now. So come follow me on Instagram or stay tuned on this page, and I'll keep you guys posted on what day 4 of the 12 days of Christmas is going to bring tomorrow. All right, have a super Monday, guys, and thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.